And we're live. We are live. Welcome to the pre-show, the 1-minute pre-show. Sorry, we're a little late. If anyone had their clock set to 9 p.m., even though we didn't say 9 p.m.
I'm sure everyone has a weekly alarm set where I need to log into the pre-show right away.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you can't miss it. Well, if you miss it, there's no other way to see it, is the problem.
Doesn't it go on the YouTube?
Yeah, I was being sarcastic. Yeah.
So this is, if you're here live, I don't know what you're doing.
Oh no, Jesus. Pavorsky is on the, oh boy, he's in his fucking element right now.
Here we go. This is the episode.
Yeah. You know what? I'm booting Cornblow's moving to the weekend pod just because the amount of Pavorsky is going to be talking about on this pod. This is your ad, LL. Today's your ad. Congratulations. Oh shit. Actually, we have to wait a second because I have to bring my, I was actually not, I thought I was ready and I wasn't ready. So here we go. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS and brought to you by LL Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners and members get engaged. Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky and Stateside Urban Craft Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter, which comes out Thursday. Get the vodka at statesidevodka.com. Get the newsletter at rightstoRickySanchez.com/newsletter. On the show today, Mike becomes just another number. He's also teased that he has 2 stories to tell. Quote, some more proposed Ben Simmons trades, a message from Ben and Rich Paul to the Sixers about his trade value, and perhaps some leftover non-sports topics we never got to from the last pod. Finally, we pour out a little bit of liquor for the Al Horford trade exception. I mentioned Stateside. The party pack is once again available for the Stateside vodka sodas. The party pack, I keep saying, party pack is 2 of each flavor. Black cherry, orange, pineapple, lemon, cucumber, mint. 2 of each. Made with Stateside vodka, sparkling water, real fruit juice, no added sugar, no artificial sugar, or no artificial flavors, 95 calories, 2 carbs, no gluten. Go to statesidevodka.com while it's still warm out. An 8-pack, a party pack. Go get yours. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
Larry, sweetie, the man is here. Say the name. I say the name. I say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with the old ball and chain, a man who has taken just another number, 236 to LL Pavorsky. That is Mike Levin.
I am engaged.
You're
I
engaged.
have proposed. It has been accepted, agreed upon in principle. And
does that mean there's still some details to work out?
There's so many details to iron out. A lot to come. But yes, did go to LL Pavorsky Jewelers, absolutely. And realized that had I not gone to LL Pavorsky Jewelers, I would have been murdered by an unruly mob.
Yeah. Can you
imagine? Would have been bad because many people said very nice things in response to the engagement, which is very nice. Thank you so much, everyone. But a lot of people threateningly like, yo, fucking tell me you went to LL. A lot of like, come on, or else. So I'm glad that I did. I now live my life in fear of the mob of Ricky listeners and obviously middle schoolers that Zoe was referring to. But it worked and it was great. And as we'll, I'm sure, talk about in the LL ad to come, a delightful experience.
Well, I mean, this is the LL ad. So, I mean, like, he's been working toward this to being the lead story, because I did not buy my engagement ring from LL because my engagement happened prior to our relationship with LL. But I could just imagine a total fraud
ring, fake ring.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's already turned green a few times. We had to scrape the green off. I was just thinking about, if you hadn't bought it from LL, how I would have had to have known that. That way I wouldn't ask you, but we would have just ignored it on the pod, and just the uncomfortable amount of tweets and emails we would have gotten asking that we address it. Just congratulations. So you did it okay. So, I mean, you were there, you had to be there in person. Did you pick it up I don't know if you want to give these details, when you were in town, like a month ago for the wedding? Is that when you picked it up?
Didn't do that. Thought about it. But didn't do that. He ended up mailing it out.
Oh, wow.
Mailed it because we obviously just moved. And so I go to work in person. Alyssa, her writer's room is Zoom. So she knows every fucking inch of this place. Mm-hmm. And if there was a ring anywhere in it, she would have known its whereabouts. So I was like, not going to mess with that, not going to risk that. So I had it sent to, sadly, one of the more responsible people in my life, John Gonzalez. And John took care of it, and LL was great about it and everything. But we had already, Alyssa and I don't know if this is the case for every couple. Obviously, everybody has their thing. I wouldn't trust myself to just pick out a ring and be like, I got it. My first ever purchase of this thing that I won't wear. I know, like, I'm locked in right away. No, I have no idea. So back in December 2019, pre-pandemic, I was in Philly. Me and Alyssa picked out a ring together. We didn't intend on picking it out that day. I think it was more of just like let's see, look it out, see what he's got, dip our toe in. But LL was ever the salesman, but not in a pushy way, I should say. Everything was great. I have absolutely no complaints. And he was very nice. And we found the ring that was right for us, and he's the best. And she's happy and we're happy, and it's all very good.
When I went and bought the ring, my wife had not picked it out, but she had told her cousin exactly what she wanted. So
there's got to be at least that has to be factored in. But yeah, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell you. I didn't tell I didn't tell my family. Because you don't know. You never know what wrinkles are going to go in there. So I didn't want to tell everyone like it's happening on this day, and then for it to be like bungled or anything like that. So I tried to stay as flexible as possible. I had a fantasy football draft that morning after I did the podcast. So it was a very eventful day already. And then it all worked out. It was good.
Did you guys? I was going to say, did you guys make out afterwards?
Yeah, we made out. It's a great question. It's a great question. We did make out. We made out. Alyssa had said before, there were a lot of like parameters of like what not to do. There was more what not to do than more what to do, which I think is helpful. Mm-hmm. She wanted me to figure it out on my own, but also didn't want it to be a disaster. Yeah. But there were several times over the course of our relationship, we've been dating for almost 6.5 years, where either she or people were like at either a Philadelphia sporting event or a specifically Ricky event, were like, are you proposing? And the answer was always no. I am not going to propose at my own podcast event ever. And she felt the need to reiterate that a bunch of times. I wouldn't do that, but she asked, and I feel like plenty of other listeners, when I met with them, also asked back then and everything. So didn't happen. Sorry to them for spoiling that show, but it was just for us. And so when I did propose to her, she was like, are people here? Like, is someone like jumping out of the bushes or something? And it was, no, it's just us.
Is it a bit?
Nobody else. Romantic, little song and dance, not actually dance, but a little presentation action. But no massive spectacle.
I've one final question, but I did want to look this up. So when I was dealing with my wife's cousin Julia to find out what ring she wanted, I put her name in as a different name in my phone in case my wife saw me texting her cousin. It wouldn't make any sense. And the name, I don't know if you can see this, is still in there as Kevin Cobb. Eagle, and it's still in there as that. Did you get down on one knee?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. Well done. Right.
Absolutely.
There is a little room for tradition, I think. So
yeah, a little. And I had called her mom a couple days before.
Yeah, you got to. You got to let
absolutely.
Yeah,
you're making everything happen in that way. So the story that I was talking about, is
before you do, LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
Yes. You got to do it now that I've done it. I've done the thing. I can now say I've done the thing. You on Saturday were alluding to some like secret engagement, which I was sitting here being like, he doesn't know. He doesn't know that I'm doing this, but he sounds an awful lot like he's talking about me. And you were not talking about me.
I was not. I had no idea. A couple of people asked me. CJ asked me if it was not. That was 100% not it. It was not.
Someone else. Might be CJ. Who knows?
Might be CJ. Who knows? So LL Pavorsky Jewelers, 215-627-2252. Lee at llpavorsky.com or right there in the chat.
This whole episode is an ad. This is an ad episode.
He's been building to this.
Yes, he has been building to it, and people have been asking me for a long time, and now we did it, and I went to LL, and I love LL, and you guys should go to LL too because he's great, and he was a delight.
All right. What was the story you wanted to tell?
So the story is there's two stories. One of them I'll tell now is related to the proposal. Friend of the podcast, former guest on the podcast, Michael Weber, wanted to get me the worst gift possible for it. So obviously he reached out to procure a Doug Collins cameo.
Oh, that is awful.
A terrible gift to wish us happiness in our new life and everything. And so he wrote this whole thing out to try to get it to him. And it was like, my friends Mike and Alyssa are getting engaged. Mike's a huge Sixers fan. He grew up watching your Sixers teams, and he really feels like the spirit of those Sixers teams is like sort of the guiding light of how he lives his life. And it's just like how you work so hard and toughness and all that stuff. And he really tried to sugarcoat it and everything. And Doug Collins denied the request because he knows that no one in the fucking world would live their life by Doug Collins' awful bullshit, horribly coached, just ornery, no one likes each other, terrible workplace Sixers teams that were going nowhere. He knows in his heart that it's a piece of shit. And thank you for rejecting it. Thank you for rejecting Michael Weber's money. Thank you for not making money off of my own engagement, you piece of shit. Doug Collins can fuck himself.
Wait a minute. That seems crazy that he would turn it down. I'm trying to think how many cameos I've had turned down. One, I tried to get one. You remember when I got the one from the Locks and I think from Jahlil Okafor for Live Ricky? I requested one for Lisa Loeb, which she denied, which I respect. And then one for somebody who was on a different team. I forget who it was. It was a player on a different team, turned it down. But there doesn't seem like any good reason why Doug Collins would turn this down.
He just has to know that someone is fucking with me because I was such a terrible coach on that team. And that was such a miserable experience for everyone involved largely because of my actions, that this has to be a sort of prank. And I don't want to be part of a prank on myself. That has to be how he is thinking because he's bad. Bad job. But thank you for saying no. The best thing he's ever done, the best coaching decision he's ever made is not accepting this cameo.
Well, Weber, you have one mission, and that is to find somebody worse than Doug Collins now to get it done. I mean,
find Doug Collins in the stands of a sporting event and come up to him and start threatening him and then getting kicked out of that sporting event the way you did with Adam Silver.
Bring him to Mike's wedding as your plus one.
Absolutely not.
Could you imagine? Weber just doubles down on the Doug Collins thing. You look out to the crowd and sitting next to Weber, some shit-eating grin is Doug Collins. Well, congratulations to you, to Alyssa, and to Doug Collins. And of course, to the real winner in all of this, the guy that just got a 15-minute commercial, LL Pavorsky. It's all been building to this. Congrats. Well, what a weird pivot. Before we get to the Ben stuff, a very sad day in Sixers Nation. In the first thing that happened this offseason that we all went, wow, that was unexpected. What a waste. Thought we'd do something with that, was the George Hill non-guaranteed contract, which we just sort of let go or whatever. And yesterday, something expired that I guess they really had no choice given the situation that they're in. But Daryl Morey lets the Al Horford trade exception expire, worth $8.3 million. We never used it. My assumption is that you still have to send something with the trade exception. The trade exception is just really a cap thing. You still have to send something to get something, and he doesn't want to send anything in case he needs to trade for somebody more important. It's just this offseason, because of the Simmons thing, is just like so much wastefulness otherwise. Seeing this just go unused kind of sucks.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit like you're on like a liver transplant waiting list, and you got all these like weird rashes that are just being ignored.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, I'm really got to figure out this liver transplant thing before I can start to address these weird rashes and bumps and other, I don't know, sprained wrists or whatever, but they're just like falling by the wayside. Our hygiene is going away. Nothing good. But two things. One, I don't think Tom Moore reported that at least sourced someone in the Sixers front office that there was nothing worthwhile available, which I think is true. It's not like there was like a bevy of $8 million guys, especially since the Celtics traded for Juancho Hernangomez. There just wasn't that many guys to be thrilled about at that level. And like you said, wow, how much are we sending out in a trade when we might need every single piece of every furniture in the office that's not nailed down to be thrown at Portland if a Dame trade presents itself. So why would you trade that? So that's fine. And also I would say that they already have, as Tom Moore also reported, that they already have 15 players under roster spot. So it's not like there's no one that makes sense right now prior to a Simmons trade to kick off the roster to go get somebody else.
Just stinks.
Yeah, it feels like a missed opportunity, but I get it. Under circumstances, it's not that. We're starting to do. It's the sort of like a different version of it as we're waiting for this trade to happen, but like a little bit of the death by 1,000 cuts Brian Colangelo era. As it was like, well, we don't need that pick that much. Okay, I guess we don't need that pick that much. We still got plenty of those. Okay, that guy didn't develop. Okay, we're trading for veterans here and there, and it starts to just like add up over time. And with the George Hill thing, and now this thing, Danny at least stays. That's fine, but it does start to feel like it is a factor. Not that there's any moves left to make in the offseason outside of a Ben trade, but it is a factor that just like we can't move on until this thing happens.
Yeah. It sucks because the George Hill contract on some level, sort of like a trade exception too. You know what I mean? Like a player that you weren't going to use and a $10 million salary to get something back if you stick something valuable along with it. But I find it hard to believe that there aren't any players worth it. But again, you're still going to have to trade something of value to get something of value back. And I just don't think they can afford to do that right now. Like we don't want to be in a position where Lillard becomes available and we're one of those things like away from making the trade. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the one thing. So speaking of which, so there are there's one or two Ben Simmons trade nuggets, I would say, from reasonably sourced reporters, Mark Stein and Brian Windhorst, who whispered and then was aggregated. And then Ricky O'Donnell, former of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez, Ricky O'Donnell put together 9 Ben Simmons trades, all incredibly realistic. I wanted to go through those and, see which ones you like best. But the sourced thing was, the first one was Mark Stein says that Cleveland has stayed interested in Ben Simmons and made note of their signing of Lauri Markkanen, who becomes available for trade on October 27th, and that he could be, part of a trade package. Now, I love Lauri Markkanen. I have since his rookie year, and I think I proclaimed him the best player in the draft. He has had a very up and down and mostly down career, which is probably why the Bulls just let him go. I think he would be, depending on the rest of the team, and obviously Harris there complicates things. He would be a cool player next to Embiid in some way. He has a very quick trigger, good shooter, good offensive player, but really has to play the 4. Would Garland, would you rather have Garland or Sexton if that would ended up being the deal? I love Garland, but Sexton obviously more ready than Garland is right now.
I would rather have Garland.
Okay. Even though he's less developed, especially if you need him to be a playmaker, Garland's more of a point guard than Sexton is.
Is Cleveland on the list of the Ricky things? I don't actually
know. That's why I was talking about it now.
It
was a different trade though. It didn't have Mark in it. It was Garland, Isaac Okoro, Ricky Rubio, and
kind of a weird option there. But I think Garland is the better player than Sexton. I think he's definitely a better shooter, which you obviously would need in a backcourt with Maxey. It's a weird backcourt, but I think an interesting one in a Lowry Van Vliet type of way. Sexton is pretty derivative with Maxey. Also, neither Garland or Sexton are incredible defenders. But you can see Garland be like his shot making ability and passing ability opens up the floor for a successful offense in a way that the thing about Sexton is you start to look at him and be like, is that just a stats on a bad team type of player? Obviously, he racked up a ton of points. I think it's sometimes easy to dismiss that on bad teams, but he's certainly proven himself capable. But I think you hope for more in a bench trade. So I definitely would rather have Garland both in the short term and the long term for this team.
Yeah, Garland, a former number 1 YouTube big board for me. I love Garland, and I don't like Sexton at all. So, but I do think, not that I think Sexton is a championship ready player, but Garland still has a couple years to go.
He's just been injured a lot. He just hasn't had logged that many reps in the sense of just putting in time. But there's enough sparks to see what that guy could become. Markkanen, I think he's had a tough year. He's not he just hasn't proven himself a defensive player whatsoever. And offensively, he's really basically just a taller, less good Buddy Hield as a shooter. I like the idea of him a lot. And I think if you put enough time in with him and put a guy possibly like Ben Simmons next to him as the 4, then maybe that's a 4 or 5 that eventually he can develop into. And you go okay, if your offense is friggin' just naming a guy like Jared Allen or something, it's interesting because they're both on the same team, but that's the first thing I thought of. But if Markkanen is good enough offensively and gets stronger and gets good enough defensively, which is asking a lot, it's not like he's knocking on the door of that, then your weakness is okay, fine, go post up your middling center against Lauri Markkanen all day. And most centers in the league right now just aren't capable of doing that. But Markkanen also doesn't move his feet well. He also doesn't rebound that well. I think he's a decent passer. I think he's a smart offensive player, but he is a little bit weak. He doesn't go up strong. He doesn't get to the line. He's really just a shooter right now. So I wouldn't be thrilled about it.
I just watch him and feel like he's got game. That's all I know of Markkanen. I just watch him and he feels like he can play ball. Now, are they winning a championship starting Darius Garland and Lauri Markkanen? No, not next year. So, but I would love to have Markkanen on the team. I feel I don't think he's a starter, maybe, or it depends on the rest of the team. But I think he'd be a cool guy to play in Embiid lineups. I like Markkanen a lot. The other piece of news before we get to Ricky O'Donnell's trades is, it's just more of the same stuff. It's just amazing. It's gotten so ugly so quickly. It's just, the quote is so amazing. Brian Windhorst on The Jump was talking about the Ben Simmons situation and said that the message from the Simmons camp to the Sixers was, it's not Ben's job to raise his trade value.
Yeah. That's not as much of a burn as they think it is, for sure.
It's not our fault nobody wants to trade for him. Oh boy. Okay, the rest of the trades. Now, I will say that these trades, and I think MOC said it in our very rarely used Slack one day, is I used to send him Simmons trades all the time. And he's not a Simmons guy, but he would turn all of them down. And almost all of them look like all of these Ricky O'Donnell trades.
Yeah.
The first one is like, I think I might have said Levert instead of Warren, but Malcolm Brogdon and TJ Warren, and every time he says a pick, let's say a first round pick, the Indiana Pacers send and I don't know why the Pacers would do this, by the way, because Simmons with like all of a sudden Miles Turner and Sabonis, that's not a real team.
Yeah, it would require another trade. Basically.
Yeah. Malcolm Brogdon, TJ Warren, first round pick for Ben Simmons. Why don't you just rate it like a 1 to 10 with knowing what Simmons' value is right now, or supposed value, and what they want to do?
I think this is probably. I think the trade itself is pretty good. I don't know how to describe it as far as like it's. I think it's pretty good, but I also probably wouldn't want it, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not denying that it is a pretty good trade. I think Brogdon is good. A slightly sub all-star level player. TJ Warren obviously like completely roasted the Sixers in a very notable way the first game of the bubble, and if the Sixers acquired him, would probably never make a shot again. He's coming back from significant injury, and similar-ish guy to Tobias in that he's not a natural three-point shooter, doesn't want to be taking threes, wants to be playing in that mid-range a lot. It would convolute things a lot. I think if Tobias wasn't on the team, I would be more prone to doing it. And the pick is whatever it is, which is fine ammo. But it's the kind of thing I'm basically getting to a point with Simmons, as I'll probably answer with these questions a lot. I think this is a pretty good trade. I think if it was this or nothing, I would say yes to this, but I think the hope is that it's more, and you start to just be like, as patient as Daryl can be to get what is necessary to win a championship, you start to think, would this do it? And the answer is probably not.
I think this would make them better. Like TJ Warren, it happened toward us, but TJ Warren is like gets buckets and like would be a nice player to have. Brogdon is, as many times as I've advocated for him, is a good point guard, but is not like a primary ball handler point guard. Like you almost have to play with him and with another guy who is a scorer, I think, to be on a real winning team. Now, I think what this would do is, in the way that the Bucks have sort of doubled down on like Giannis and people around Giannis, the Sixers would do that. But it also precludes them, and we don't know what the offers are, but this isn't strengthening any trade anywhere else. Though it is giving you two players who are tradable. I think any team could use Brogdon and any team could use Warren in that way. And if the real value in getting Dame Lillard is all this other stuff that you're going to trade, then maybe they're okay in that they are salary. But I would give it I would do it. It would be ultimately be a pretty depressing return for Simmons, I think. But this is like a 6 or something.
Yeah, I think it's a little higher than that based on what else is there and based on what a lot of these other trades suggest in this package. I think Brogdon he gets to the rim. He is a fine, if pretty uncreative passer. He's big, he's smart, good locker room guy, like tries, or like has all the intangibles that you want. He's just like good. He's just like wholly good across the court. It's just like, does he elevate you enough? And none of the answer is. And also both guys are pretty injury prone. The reason Brogdon fell to the second round is because of his knees, and he's been good, but like some ticking time bomb between those two guys.
The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is brought to you by Big Barker Dog Beds. My Rebel, I mentioned a few pods ago, was rejecting the first dog walker and had pooped in the house when the dog walker arrived as sort of a protest and fear. We're on to dog walker number 2, which is dog walker's number 1's boss, who, dog walker number 1, I know she was trying, but she was obviously terrified of the situation. This guy, not terrified of the situation. Rebel reacting a little bit better. So fingers crossed. And also another dog thing. I got mauled by a dog earlier this week, bit many times on my legs, tons
Wow.
of blood. I will tell that
Blood.
story tons of blood. Yeah, it was awful.
Jeez.
Yeah. The one thing on my knee is pretty deep. Anyway, by and large, and funny afterwards, I was not mad at the dog. I was mad at the owner. The dog, I completely blame free. In any case, my fucking dog is laying on one of his two big barkers. Big Barker is a sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez Providence Animal Center Bark in the Park team. They're paying for the t-shirts. If your dog is a processed pup and we don't have them on the back of the shirt, let us know by Friday so we can get them on the back of the shirt. The Big Barker paying for the Bark in the Park t-shirts this year. Big Barker is the only real dog bed on the market. And I say that you're like, well, there's dog beds everywhere. Well, there are things that call themselves dog beds everywhere, but there's not actually real beds everywhere. And the Big Barker is a real bed. It supports your dog's joints, keeps your dog healthy, keeps your dog happy, keeps your dog more energetic for longer. You want your dog as they age to be a healthy dog, and a Big Barker will do that. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. That is bigbarker.com/Ricky. You get the Big Barker dog bed with 2 processed pup patches, 2 of them, so your dog can be an official processed pup. All these claims I'm making, by the way, completely legitimized by Penn Vet, who did a study on Big Barkers and saw improvement in joint function, reduction in pain severity, reduction in joint stiffness, improvement in gait, and improvement in quality of life. All real things. 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they replace it for free. 1 year at-home trial. If you don't like it, send it back. They'll give you a free refund and even pay for the shipping. Big Barker dog beds.
All right.
All right. What is our next trade? To the Spurs for DeJounte Murray, Derek White, and Devin Vassell, and a pick.
I think this is pretty good. These are just like role player trades. Like Brogdon and Warren are like on a good year, they could make the All-Star team in the right conference type of thing. These guys probably never will. And the Sixers, as we've talked about, are already like 13 guys deep. If you think Isaiah Joe deserves to play and you think Paul Reed deserves to get a shot and shake, like that's a lot. Like what do we need more of that for? And so I would really be requiring, and this is what Daryl's asking for, and the Packers are talking about, like 4 picks and or swaps.
Yeah.
And I think if you trade him for something that's not at least an all-star level player, you got to get a couple picks in there. And maybe that's why Daryl's starting with 4 and he can go down to like 2 or 3. Then you can go like, okay, that's more manageable. You can stomach that. But like, these guys are good. They're good players. All 3 of these guys are good players. I love Devin Vassell. I would love to get him and have a possibility of like a, Mikal Bridges type developmental player on our team. Derek White's awesome. Does a lot of similar things as Shake does. But he's older. He's 27 already. DeJounte Murray, excellent defensive point guard. One of the best defensive point guards in the league. Gets to the rim, but like doesn't shoot well. Doesn't have great touch. Played a year before Markelle Fultz and has a kind of a similar game, only less smooth and with worse touch. So I like these guys. I think they're NBA players for sure. But like, how much does that raise the Sixers ceiling? And I think probably not much. I'd rather try to get like a couple guys that can help now with a large collection of picks to try to flip some stuff into the next, whether it's Beal or Dame or whoever. I think those teams are more likely, it seems, to want to get a load of picks than this sort of like square peg round hole that Simmons is.
Yeah, and people seem to be more impressed with Murray than I am when I watch him. I'm just not. It just doesn't do anything for me. But and maybe he'll be good and better than I think. But he's never impressed me that much.
He's kind of like MCW, but like actually really good defensive player in a way that MCW kind of wasn't. It just seemed like he would be.
Because of his build and the way it's sort of the way MCW looked. Yeah. The Cleveland trade is Garland, Okoro, and Rubio, which, and a pick. The Garland and Rubio thing is like interesting, I guess. I haven't watched enough Isaac Okoro to know. I don't know. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, Okoro's like interesting body. They've works his ass off defensively. Ridiculous athlete. Grew up and was like sort of the second guy to Sharif Cooper. They played on the same, I think, AAU team. And he can certainly play. He's like a significantly more polished Zaire Smith with better offensive a starting point. But how much do you need that guy with Matisse Hardy on the floor? You can't really play those guys together. It's not doing a ton for me. Rubio has been on so many teams where he's just been like fine. Garland Rubio is interesting, kind of, but I don't know. It's just the pickings are not thrilling.
McCollum, Covington, and a pick for Simmons and Thibault.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird trade, and I think the Blazers edge guy is like, well, let's just trim the fat of this trade and keep Covington and keep Matisse where they are. I think Simmons for CJ is lopsided in the sense that, like, both in a vacuum, I think Simmons is better at more things. And also CJ is better than Seth Curry, but similar and can't really play them with each other.
I think he's way better than Seth Curry, though.
I don't know that he's way better than Seth Curry. I think the reputation is for sure, but Seth played incredible basketball last year, and especially into the playoffs. Obviously, he got roasted defensively, but Seth has not proven like a strong defensive player either. And CJ's had a bunch of injuries and stuff to deal with. So I think if you can hold out Portland long enough where you can get CJ and Covington for Ben, maybe for Ben and like Isaiah Joe or something like that, or a pick or whatever it is, then maybe you go like, okay, fair trade for everybody. Let's Covington with Embiid is obviously fun. And
Covington right now is better than Thibault. If you're trying to win a championship right now, like he just is. I mean, Thibault hopefully becomes the shooter that Covington is, like just in terms of volume and high release, and like you can just depend on him to do that. I think obviously Thibault's defensive upside is much higher, but Covington is a very strong defensive player. It's a good trade. I think I would, if I'm trying to win a championship next year, I'd rather have Covington than Thibault.
I don't disagree in a vacuum. I don't know that like Covington Danny is a great fit since they do such similar things offensively with Tobias out there. I think because Matisse is a all defense player in his second year, I think if you decide let's trade Matisse, you can get someone better than Covington. I think Covington's also expiring. So I just think like if you're isolating it in that sense, like someone would pay a lot, I think, for Matisse because of how young and magnetic as of a player and a person that he is, and also being like no one makes all defense this early in their career. And I think that he had a good showing in Australia and stuff. I don't disagree that Covington's a better offensive player right now. Defensively, I think it's close depending on what you need from them. I would obviously love to try Covington as a small ball five and kick Andre Drummond to the curb, but it doesn't seem like that would happen. So I don't know. That's like the CJ trade is like the most baseline, like, okay, we're doing this. This is everyone move on, shake hands and move go on about their life. But I think that if you want to try to Dame, then the better and really position yourself to be a championship contender legitimate in the next 3 to 5 years, then I think helping Portland do that is or helping Portland move on from, set up a better team around Dame or whatever, make it easier for Dame to stay, then becomes the like, how you're cutting yourself off from a high level, potentially available prospect eventually, even if he's not available today. And we'll talk about it, but yeah.
The next one. Steven Adams, Dylan Brooks, DeAnthony Melton, plus the Jazz and Lakers 22 first-round picks for Simmons.
Right. So like number like 25 and 28 in the draft. And Steven Adams' corpse to play. I like Steven Adams as a person, but like to play next to Andre Drummond, who we have for a lot cheaper. I love I like Dylan Brooks a lot. I loved Anthony Melton. But like,
this is not the trade.
This is not the trade.
Yeah, this
you
is
just hold on to it. I like the idea of Ben with Ja and Jaren Jackson. That's very fun, especially as Desmond Bane in there. I hope if I'm a Memphis fan, I'm like losing my mind, which obviously I am a part-time Memphis fan as a member of Draft Twitter. But this is not something you'd be excited about as a Sixers fan.
No. The next one is just like another version of the same trade. We've talked about a bazillion times. D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, Jaden McDaniels, and a pick for Simmons, Thibault, and Joe. I cannot imagine a world with D'Angelo Russell on the Sixers. He sucks. I know he'll have to be involved somehow if there's a trade with Minnesota, but somewhere else, I guess. I don't. This isn't the one for me.
Yeah, this is the kind of ideal trade I'm looking at. Not with the Russell one. I wouldn't do it. I think he sucks. And I think they want to keep Russell to pair him with in between Simmons and Towns, which would be an ideal like shooting fit and everything. And that's a fun team. I would love to see that team for them. Like D'Angelo with Anthony Edwards, who is awesome and very fun to root for, plus Ben and Kat. Like that's an interesting team. With maybe like Josh Okogie in there as another defensive 2-guard. But I'm looking at it like, give me Taurean Prince, which he's allowed to be traded in a little bit, plus McDaniels and Beasley, and probably Naz Reid also, who I like as a backup 5 that can shoot finally. And just every pick Minnesota has to offer. And just go like, okay, you're not trading us your first, second, or third best player in this trade. You're giving us Malik Beasley, who I really like a lot, and Jaden McDaniels, who is a very interesting prospect and developmental and stuff, in the same way that Devin Vassell would be. And just like give us a ton of picks in there. And then you can flip those plus whatever pieces are here and do like a 5 or 6 pick trade for the next superstar that becomes available that would do it. That's just what I'm starting to warm to. If it's not going to be Dame, and we can talk about the Dame post in a second, but if it's not going to be Dame, then the role player trades are just like tough for me. And the non-role player
post. What was the Dame post?
So Dame posted on Instagram that he is like, basically he's staying another year, basically home for another season.
I'll find it.
He said, back for more, # Rip City is my city. And it's him like high-fiving the fans as he's like walking through the tunnel.
Jeez.
It's not explicitly saying like I will not be asking for a trade or anything, but it's close to that.
Wow.
I don't know what they.
I don't want to see Zoe's newsletter tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. Zoe texted it to me, by the way. That's how I saw it. So yeah, I mean, like I don't think Portland has had a great offseason that would be like, if I'm Dame, like hell yeah, I'm fucking staying. Sign me up again. They just didn't have that good of an offseason.
He just wants to be there. He likes being there.
Yeah, which I get it. This
is
fine. And maybe he doesn't like Philadelphia enough, or maybe he thinks he's not. The Knicks aren't good enough for him to like muscle his way there if that's where he wants to go, whatever. But anyway, the other story is the Dame story, so I may as well tell it now.
Okay.
You want to go to a commercial, or you want to do it now?
Yeah, what a tease. The Dame story is coming. But Mike has a Dame story. He was at LL Pavorsky Jewelers. No. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Before we get to their special, I thought I would check the team futures odds. The Sixers are plus 1,800 to win the title. The Nets plus 220, Lakers plus 380, and the Sixers are plus 700 to win the East. Still, Bucks plus 380, Nets plus 105. Look, we love DraftKings Sportsbook. They support us. We support them. Look, it's up there in the corner of the video. You can see it over there, right there. DraftKings Sportsbook, love them. NFL is here this weekend. Holy shit, live betting, football betting, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, DraftKings Sportsbook. To celebrate the start of the new NFL season, here's the special. Bet $1 on any football game this weekend and get $200 in free bets instantly, no matter what. You don't even have to win. So go sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook, bet $1 on anything, and get $200 in free bets. All new customers, $200 in free bets instantly when they bet at least $1. Love DraftKings Sportsbook. Great app. Casino games on there too. I think they did actually, I don't even want to talk about it because I don't know if they did it yet or not. Forget it. Casino games, blackjack, roulette, all that kind of stuff, plus live betting, every sport. Love DraftKings Sportsbook. Also, it's here in the US, so it's safe, secure, reliable. Put your money in, get your money out quickly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code RTRS to receive $200 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any week one game. That is promo code RTRS to get your $200 in free bets instantly this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, PA only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. All right, Dame story. Let's go.
All right, so I got a text. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday from former Ricky guest, Sixers fan, Philly fan, Doug Mand, who you might remember from the Duty Calls with Doug Mand podcast.
Yes, that I laughed so hard on that podcast. That was
very funny. A lot of all the podcast. They haven't done a podcast in a long time, but all the comedians came on their podcast, on Doug's podcast, with his partner Jack Dolgen, and did a lot of told their most embarrassing and most disgusting, not usually disgusting, more embarrassing shit stories when they happened. And at inopportune times and everything. So I highly recommend the podcast, even though Doug stopped doing the podcast before he could ask me on it, before I was important enough to be asked on the podcast. So that's fine. And he knows that I will hold that against him forever. Anyway, he texted me yesterday saying, hey, I'm in Italy and I'm at a restaurant, and who else is here within eyesight of me but Damien Lillard on his honeymoon? What should I do? And so,
oh boy,
he goes, I'm like, something, do anything. And he's like, I might send over a bottle of champagne. And I'm like, great. He's like, what should I say with it? And I'm like, something like, hey, big fan of yours. Philadelphia loves you, from a Sixers fan who trusts your process, or something like that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Something in that sense. And he sends it over and he's like, okay, I'll talk to him on the way out.
Okay.
He's like, he's really nervous. He's like, I've never felt this way in my life before. I love Doug, nervous guy. Gets sweaty pits, and probably having a shit attack as this is happening. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm in the writer's room, like trying to monitor when it's happening. He's very excited. He did it. He sends over the champagne. He watches Dame receive the champagne. I'm like, cool. I don't hear from him for a little bit. And I'm like, okay, so what? Did you talk to him? Okay, no, he left it, and he said thanks for the champagne, and then kept walking, and there were a bunch of like kids chasing after him, so he didn't want to say anything. I was like, okay, but you at least told him the like Sixers thing, the process thing that I said. He's like, no. And I was like, okay, so you just bought a very wealthy man a bottle of champagne.
$40 million.
I know. And he's like, yes. And but his wife Nicole, who's also a comedian and an actress,
she should leave him.
Said, no, but like we put it out into the universe that he knows it's from Philly. Like he knows it's from a Sixers fan. He has to like feel that, and the universe will like answer that.
No. And
then fucking today he does the back for more Rip City is my city Instagram. So
maybe he thought it was from a fucking Portland fan.
He could have. He might have done that. So now, if Dame never gets traded to the Sixers, we can blame Doug. Doug knows this, that I will be pinning it all on him. He had it in his grasp. All he had to do was seal the deal, and he didn't do it. And so, Dame's having a lovely honeymoon and not getting pressured to sign with the Sixers. Ridiculous.
Doug Mand is banned from the podcast.
Wow.
Yeah. Unless he can look, Doug. I liked you. I thought your appearance was. Really, it doesn't get mentioned often because like people talk about the Embiid one or the Morey ones or whatever. It's a very funny appearance. I think you're a funny guy. You can make this right by finding Dame Lillard, buying him more champagne, getting the message to him, and getting him here. But all of those things have to happen.
Yeah, possibly kidnapping. I wouldn't rule out kidnapping. That whatever it takes.
Fucking disaster.
You can't let this opportunity slip through your grasp. Can't.
Okay. The next one is completely made up because the Heat are not trading for him. But Goran Dragic, OG Anunoby, Chris Boucher, and Malachi Flynn
Well, that's Toronto.
What's that?
That's Toronto.
Oh, Toronto, right. Why do I? Oh, because Goran Dragic was on the Heat, right?
Yeah.
But OG Anunoby was never on the Heat, and neither was Chris Boucher. Goran Dragic, OG Anunoby, Chris Boucher, Malachi Flynn for Simmons, Thibault, and Isaiah Joe. Goran Dragic is pretty cooked, I think.
Yeah.
Would be an amazing player to play with Embiid at his best. Anunoby also would be a cool player with Embiid. I'm just not buying the Dragic thing at this point, I think.
So I love Anunoby. I've loved him for so long. I think his offensive game is really continues to get better in a way that I'm excited to see what it looks like in the next year or two. There's a chance that he just takes a big leap. And he's like legitimately a 1 through 5 defender that I believe in. Malachi Flynn is a young guy who I like from San Diego State. And Chris Boucher is one of my favorite stretch fives in the league, as a great shot blocker as well. I dying for Chris Boucher to be on the Sixers. Would have been nice. Him with Ben obviously would have been great, but they didn't do that repeatedly. I don't know. This is another like fine one. It's like, does it put you over the top? If Dragic has another like good year left in him, I think maybe it's good enough with him plus Anunoby plus like just defense and enough shooting to make it happen with Boucher as like a much better fit than Andre Drummond. Maybe, but it wouldn't be, of these trades, it's probably like my fourth favorite, because it's like, if he's cooked, Boucher's fine, but Doc probably won't play him. Malachi is similar to Maxey in some ways, that he's like a pretty undersized, or not undersized, but like one position defender, point guard, tough, good shooter, can get into the lane, good floater game, that kind of thing, but not perfect with Maxey. So it's just like, really, are you just trading for Anunoby? And I love him, but it's not a ton that I'm thrilled about.
Still need a guard. To the Kings for Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield.
Man, fucking Kings fans are like, well, I'd rather trade Marvin Bagley, rotting fish corpse on the side of the ocean, just like dying that no one wants him, and he was a terrible pick right away, and he's never been good, and he's expiring. I'd rather trade him and Buddy Hield and maybe a pick for Ben. I bet you would, Sacramento Kings fan. I love Halliburton. I've loved Halliburton for a long time. I think he is an excellent player. I think he's a good shooter. I think he's a genius level passer. I think he's just a winning type of player that is good and will continue to get better as scoring for himself. But that's largely what they would really need from him now. He would immediately become the Sixers' best passer, because outside of Ben, they don't have much. And him and Maxey is a very fun, sort of similar to Fox and Halliburton.
This just ain't it. This trade isn't it.
He's just like, it doesn't push it over the top yet. He's gonna keep getting better. Halliburton's excellent, but like right now, still has a long way to go. I would want Fox.
And then the final one only makes sense, I think, if you're moving these guys in another trade, is Wiggins, Wiseman, and Moody, and a pick for Simmons.
Just disgusting. Like what a joke. What an embarrassing thought that the Warriors are like, yeah, we do that. That'd be great. We're gonna trade Wiseman, who fucking blows. And if he was in the draft, if he gets somehow redrafted right now, he would go like 28th. Like, he's not good, and he now commands an expensive price tag because they took him second over LaMelo, which is fucking dumb at the time, and it's dumb now. He might be playable eventually as just like a big rolling five, but he's not going to do much more than that. And you can get those guys for not that expensive and not that high of a price, and not that much of value, where you're using a second overall pick on him. Moody, I love. I think he's excellent, but obviously he'll take some time. And Wiggins isn't good. Like, he had a good season last year, but like, what are we doing? Like, we don't like Tobias Harris thinking about not taking threes. We're going to get Wiggins here. Come on. Joke.
Yeah. It's not the trade. So
it's just, we're just at the place where I'm just like, let's just get, if it's not going to be Dame, and Portland's like, there's not a chance, and Dame is telling you like, no, it's like that door is completely closed, then I might just be like, let's trade him for a fuckload of picks. maybe Malik Beasley, and find a way to be like, we are going to pivot from here. We're going to play the young guys with Embiid. They're going to have juice. We're going to allow guys to get better. And then we can package those things together with the picks to then trade for the next available star who wants to play for a winning team. That's what everybody's been talking about. Like Derek's been talking about it. People writing about it on the Ricky site. Like the Sixers' advantage is that they have championship potential if the next guy decides to come there. Unlike the other teams with several picks, whether it's Houston or Oklahoma City or New Orleans, depending on how much they still have, whatever, Detroit, whoever it is. So if a player was like, hey, I want to leave this place to go play for a championship contender, Philadelphia would be the place they can do it where the package also makes sense. And so that's where we're at.
It's so depressing. And these fucking trades are just, Jesus Christ. Sorry for taking the Lord's name in vain. Oh my God. Yeah, I just want this to be over. I can't take any more stories from fucking.
Yeah, I'm
Brian
ready for
Windhorst
the leaks to stop for sure.
Yeah.
Let's just do it over and over again.
Well, congratulations to one LL Pavorsky on.
I also have to say,
yeah.
yes, congrats to LL, but I would be remiss if I don't say Doogie
be
Kamealoha MD is on Disney Plus as of tonight. Me and Pat wrote on that show, and it's a delightful show, and there's a lot of Philly references in it because Courtney is also from Philadelphia, who created the show, Courtney Kang. And it's a delightful show. It's a family show. You can watch it with your teenage kids. It's very fun. I don't know anything about the medical profession, so you can watch me guess as any script that I had my grubby little paws on is a lot of just making shit up about various ailments.
People don't know.
That people don't know at all.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's on Disney Plus. It'll drop one episode a week, and it's a delightful show, and it's getting well reviewed. And hopefully we get a season 2 so I can keep working and pay for a wedding. Come on.
There you go. Well, as I was saying, congrats to LL Pavorsky on
big day for him.
Finally roping a Rights to Ricky Sanchez member into buying the ring. I've purchased, look, again, I'll apologize again for not buying the ring from LL Pavorsky, but you are now the true Ricky host for doing that. So congratulations.
That's right. And also congrats to Kyle
Alyssa,
Neubeck,
also engaged. Yes. Did it in Spain. Apparently he went to book John and Colleen's backyard, was already taken by you. Yeah.
Totally taken.
Congratulations to Kyle. All right. We will talk to you this weekend. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah. Big face.